The first blow cracked across Ethan Cole's shoulder like a thunderclap. The amphitheater of Carval went silent, not out of respect, but surprise. Humans were fragile things, everyone knew that.
Soft-boned. Short-lived.
Imported labor from a so-called Deathworld whose gravity and predators had shaped them into stubborn survivors, but not, supposedly, into warriors who could endure punishment meant for a Varkash adult. Ethan staggered, but did not fall. Behind him, something small whimpered. Ethan tightened his grip on the energy barrier projector he'd ripped from a fallen guard and angled his body wider, shielding the child curled against the basalt floor. The Varkash enforcer raised its barbed limb again, mandibles flaring in irritation. "Step aside, human," it hissed through a translator node. The larva interfered with sacred procession. "Punishment is required." Ethan spat blood, tasting copper. "You want to punish someone," he said hoarsely. "You'll have to go through me." The second blow shattered the barrier projector and sent him skidding across the stone. Pain bloomed, white-hot along his ribs. Somewhere in the stands, 1,000 alien voices rustled, intrigued now. No one noticed the figure rising from the royal dais until the temperature in the hall dropped 10 degrees. Ethan hadn't planned to be here. 3 months earlier, he'd been a contract security officer attached to the Terran Diplomatic Corps, hired to stand still, look intimidating, and make sure no one touched the human ambassador during the Coalition convergence. Carval was neutral ground, home of the Varkash Matriarchate, one of the oldest, most feared species in the spiral arm. They were apex predators, matriarchal, ritualistic, and deeply, violently protective of their young, which was why Ethan still didn't understand how things had gone so wrong. The larva, small, 6-limbed, its carapace still translucent with youth, had darted into the open hall chasing a floating light drone. The guards had reacted instantly, weapons raised. Panic rippled. Someone shouted a warning in a language Ethan didn't know, but he understood fear well enough. He'd seen the enforcer's strike coming down toward the child, and his body had moved before his mind could catch up. The third blow never landed. A shadow fell over Ethan, vast and absolute. He looked up through blurred vision and saw her. Matriarch Threxkara. She stood nearly 3 meters tall, her obsidian exoskeleton etched with ceremonial scars filled with glowing gold resin. Her eyes fixed on the enforcer with a stillness more terrifying than rage. Around her neck hung the sigil of the broodmother, a living crest that pulsed faintly with the life signs of her offspring. The larva behind Ethan made a soft churring sound. The matriarch followed the sound. Her gaze dropped, not to her child, but to the human shielding it with his broken body. The amphitheater held its breath. "Enough," Threxkara said. The enforcer froze, dropping to a kneel so fast its claws sparked against stone. Threxkara stepped forward. Each footfall echoed like judgment. She extended one massive limb and gently lifted the larva, cradling it against her thorax. Only then did she look back down at Ethan. "You," she said. "Human." Ethan tried to stand. Failed. He settled for meeting her gaze. "Your kid's safe," he muttered. "That's what matters." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, softly, so softly that only those nearest heard, she spoke words that would be replayed across the galaxy for decades. "He took the blows meant for my blood. Ethan woke in a healing chamber surrounded by humming biotech and unfamiliar stars projected across the ceiling. Every muscle screamed in protest. Bandages, woven from something organic and warm, wrapped his torso. "You are awake," said a voice like grinding stone. Thryxkara stood at the edge of the chamber. Up close, she was even more imposing. Ethan swallowed. "Guess I'm not dead," he said. "No," she replied. "You are claimed." That got his attention. "I'm sorry, what?" "In our law," the matriarch said, "one who shields a larva with their own body commits a blood deed. Such a deed forges a bond older than speech." Ethan frowned. "I didn't do it for Allah. I just couldn't let a kid get hurt." Her eyes narrowed, not in anger but focus. That makes the bond stronger. Over the next cycles, Ethan learned what that meant. He was forbidden from leaving Carval, not as a prisoner, but as kin ward. Varkash law dictated that one who protected a child was owed protection in return, lifelong, irrevocable. The coalition panicked. Terran officials demanded his release. Threats were exchanged. Fleets shifted. Thryxkara ignored them all. "You may return to your people," she told Ethan one evening as they stood overlooking the brood gardens, "but the bond remains. Any who harm you will answer to me." "And what do you want?" Ethan asked. Her mandibles clicked softly. "I want to understand you." Understanding came slowly. Ethan spent time with the larva, Keshta, who followed him with unsteady steps and delighted chirps. He learned Varkash customs, the songs mothers sang through vibrations, the scars earned not in battle but in sacrifice, the way strength was measured not by domination, but by what one was willing to endure for another. In return, he told stories of Earth, of storms and oceans, of human children who fell and scraped their knees and were taught to stand again. Thryxkara listened. One night she spoke the truth. "When my larva was threatened," she said, "my guards failed. You did not." Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "Anyone could have done it." "No," she replied. "Most did not." The galaxy noticed. News feeds called him the human shield, the Deathworld guardian. Some praised him. Others warned of dangerous precedent. A human claimed by an alien matriarch was a political nightmare. Then came the attack. A rogue coalition cell breached Carval, aiming to assassinate Thryxkara and seize her brood as leverage. Alarms screamed. Guards mobilized. Ethan was unarmed. When a blast tore through the brood chamber wall, he didn't hesitate. He grabbed Keshta and ran, straight into a barrage of plasma fire. He felt heat. Impact. The world narrowed. And then, rage. Thryxkara descended upon the attackers like a god of extinction. None survived. Ethan lived. Barely. As he lay broken once more, Thryxkara knelt beside him, cradling his head with surprising gentleness. "You would die for my child," she said. He smiled weakly. "Yeah, guess I would." Her voice trembled, something no Varkash had ever recorded. "Then hear me, Galaxy." She rose, broadcasting her declaration across every channel. "This human is mine, by blood deed and bond. Any who threaten him threaten the Varkash matriarchate." Silence followed. Then acceptance. Ethan eventually returned to Earth. He walked with scars, with a Varkash crest burned into his armor. with an open invitation to a world that had claimed him as family. Sometimes, when the stars were right, a transmission would arrive, a soft vibration, a familiar churring laugh. Keshta, growing strong. And somewhere across the void, an alien mother watched over the human who took the blows meant for her child. A legend born not of conquest, but of sacrifice.